G'day folks, and welcome to this setup for Scenario 1, First Blood from VUCA Simulations' Crossing the Line, Aachen 1944. This is designed by Dirk Blenneman, and it's really quite an innovative and fascinating design. This first scenario is designed as kind of a light training introduction to the system used in this game. Basically, you ignore the sequence of play and you just activate the 1st Infantry Division until they either achieve victory or they've been activated 5 times. So it's almost a race for time. You need to activate your formation, move in and attack and try and capture these 3 points on the west wall ahead of Aachen, which is just off map here. This shows sort of the boundary of the map, but really you're going to be focused on this central area. This is a very innovative and fascinating design system. The way it works is you have various formations. You'll normally, in the full campaign, have various formations in play, and you will roll to activate or to gain action points for a formation based on their activation level. This is all sort of information that's kept off map on a separate chart. In short, you'll roll the dice, the die result, you cross-reference with the current formation activation level. This will give you a number of activation points to spend. You can then spend, you can then spend those activation points to perform actions, such as moving a unit or attacking with that unit. That'll be the most common things that you're doing. You'll note there's 3 different kinds of attacks. There's a hasty attack, a regular attack, or a prepared attack. The more points you spend for an attack, the more support you can draw on, and the better your chances of getting a better multiplier during combat. So movement is pretty straightforward. We've got a lot of infantry units here. They get +2 movement if they don't end next to an enemy. They spend half movement points when moving along a road. Pretty straightforward. So you'll be spending those movement points, those action points to perform movement actions to move these units closer to the line. Once they get close to the line, you'll be spending those action points to perform combat actions. During combat, you draw these combat chips. And I'll draw one out just to demonstrate how this works. You'll draw one of these, and you're doing several things. Both the attacker and the defender will draw one of these. And this will give you a multiplier of the combat strength. So if the attacker is, the higher the attacking unit's efficiency rating, this small little 7 there, the better the chance of getting a good multiplier. You can see here, if they have an efficiency rating of 7, it's 333. This is a nice chip to draw. If they had a lower rating, a lower multiplier. You're also considering hasty, regular, or prepared attack. So if you had an efficiency rating of 3 here, and you can perform a hasty attack, you're looking at a multiplier of 1. But if you performed a prepared attack, you'd be looking at a multiplier of 3. So it's a bit of a randomizer there. The defender is doing something similar, but they're looking at both their efficiency rating and the nature of their status, whether they're disrupted, undisrupted, or normal, or in a prepared defense, the far right column. And again, that multiplies their battle strength. Once you've worked that out, you consult the CRT, you look at what terrain you're fighting in, and you apply the relevant, you look for the combat odds ratio, then you look for the terrain, and you use this column here. There'll also be a range of combat dice roll modifiers that may apply. You'll apply those as well, and you'll get the outcome. So it's kind of got the core bones of sort of traditional hex encounter gaming, but with this really fascinating formation activation sort of system and the use of these points you expend these action points, you'll gain the action points, and you'll spend these points to perform various actions. But one thing I haven't mentioned yet is the use of this reaction system. So whenever you move adjacent to an enemy unit, the enemy unit gets an opportunity to react, and it's almost like an interruption of your formation activation. If they succeed, your formation activation stops dead, and the opponent rolls for a reaction activation, and they then get a number of action points for their reaction. So you could be midway through moving your forces up to attack the line, and suddenly your opponent rolls for a reaction, they succeed, your activation halts dead, doesn't continue, and they then get a number of reaction points where they can counterattack or bring more forces into bear. And they spend their points until they're done, and then it returns to your turn, where you again roll for formation activation level, get your action points, and then spend them. So there's a lot of back and forth. Both players are sort of regularly engaged. But underlying that is, yeah, as I said, a fairly standard CRT movement sort of system, locking zones of control, things like that. What else can I tell you about this? So there's two sort of phases in each game. There's an operations phase, which I've just sort of summarized, and there's also an administration phase. This particular scenario just focuses on that one operations phase. During the admin phase, you have sort of recovery of units. You can assign independent units to different formations. You'll bring in replacements, things like that. Basic admin that you'd expect from a game. As mentioned, this is scenario 1, but there are a total of, well, there are 3 smaller scenarios and then the larger campaign scenario, which takes place, if I can just zoom out, over the entire map. You may notice as well the beautiful artwork here. This is one of the most, it's just really nice graphic art design. Everything looks really interesting. The West Wall, you've got these sort of towns and cities and pillboxes spread around the map. So stay tuned, folks. I'm going to be starting with this scenario to get a handle on it, and then moving up to the larger scenario. Again, this is Crossing the Line, Aachen 1944 by VUCA Simulations.